We're going live, guys. Okay, make sure your phones are off.
Yeah, we already got some food to kick off.
I'll tell you when it's. Okay, we're live.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Good morning, Bedford Township. Welcome to the Pirrone Prieur Fully Loaded Show. How you doing, Paulie?
I'm doing good. We're running out of chairs here. We got a couple of guests. Actually, we got a lot of guests today. This is important. We wanted to give you guys a few minutes to talk. Go ahead and introduce yourselves and tell the folks why you're here.
I'm Shawnterra Glasgow-Scott. I am the Food and Operations Director at Monroe County Opportunity Program, or some of you may know it as MCLP.
And I'm Dale Track with Bedford Citizens for Fiscal Responsibility, and we're going to have a food drive on Sunday, June 14th, this Sunday coming up from noon to 4 at Bedford Township Hall.
And what's really good is that you don't need to get out of your car. Just put the food in your trunk or in the back of your truck, and they'll take it out. We're also going to do something unique too. I called the Humane Society. We are going to be collecting food for cats and dogs because
that's lovely.
During this whole time, we have a lot of people that have been financially strapped. They don't want to give up their dogs. Sometimes they have to, and the Humane Society takes them in. But we all forget it costs money to feed dogs and animals and so on. So we're going to be doing that. I'd like to see a bunch of bags of cat food, dog food. Let's bring out the food. But MCOP does a lot of great stuff. Can you tell us a little bit more about MCOP?
Yes, so we run several different programs. We're a community action agency, which means throughout the county there are several different needs that are unique to Monroe County specifically. So we work to meet those needs. So we have financial literacy classes. We do weatherization, which they're actually looking for home weatherization applications if you guys want to give us a call. And then we also have a food bank and a pantry. We have a huge food program. We have food programs for commodity foods for seniors, which is really big, and we have a focus on fresh and healthy foods because it's not enough to just feed. It's important that we're nourishing and we're providing food that's going to support people's health. So we are also doing mobile food pantries right now where people can just simply drive through and they can get food. We're providing fresh milk. We're providing really nice produce, and we're also providing non-perishable goods. We have mobiles this coming Saturday. We have one that is at 13790 South Custer Road from 2 to 5. 10475 North Ann Arbor Road from 1230 to 3:30, and 11355 Harold Road in Luna Pier from 2 to 5. So there are no income requirements for that. You simply drive up with your ID and you'll be able to receive food. So we have several different programs, and we're for the whole county is what we try to drive home. So come out and see us and call us if you need us. We're also doing delivery for people who are homebound or live in shelters or what have you. You just call 734-241-2775. You'll be directed to the food department. You leave us your name, number, and address, and we'll deliver food out to you.
Oh, that's good.
Did I say that fast enough?
Yeah, that was real good. Yeah. Well, I'm sure your agency's been extremely busy during this whole pandemic time of people that probably never needed food before that need it now.
We have been busier than ever, and my team works so hard, and we're a small team. There's only 6 of us, but we are surrounded by a gang of volunteers who support us religiously, and we're very grateful, and the community has been amazing with food drives. They've provided fiscal donations as well, so it's actually been really amazing. And we just continue to do what we do day in and day out.
Great.
That's what Bedford does. That's what
And
we
we
do
love
in times
it.
of need. But Dale, did you want to say anything real quick? Because then we're going to kick you guys off.
Okay. Well,
In a nice way.
I appreciate you guys putting us on last minute like this. I really do. The people of this community are terrific. We had a food drive a couple months ago, and it was outstanding, the kind of outcome that we had from that. We filled the bus, basically. And we'd like to see that again, and then some if we could. Again, this food drive is going to be at Bedford Township Hall this Sunday, June 14th, from noon to 4. And people people may not really understand about Bedford and the need. The school service, the volunteers and the food service workers, they provided over 116,000 meals within the last few months here for people in the community. That is a tremendous need. And not only that, you know, from talking to Dr. Carl Schultz, there are between 25 and 30% of the school-age children that would qualify for federal assistance for school lunches. So there's a tremendous need in this community. And let's not forget that there's still a lot of people waiting to get their unemployment checks because there's such a backlog.
Exactly.
And then there's 340,000 of those people that are flagged, but they're still in need. They don't know why they were flagged, and they need a check.
Okay.
Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. And
Thank you for having us.
Doing the food drives. I'm sure we'll stop out and see you. And
Well, we already got some food too to kick you guys off. So.
yeah, there we go. Thanks for being on. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it.
Certainly appreciate it. And perhaps you can have MCOP back for a show.
Yeah, this is their second invite.
Is it?
Yeah, so.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Well, invite me.
Okay, I'll invite you. Next.
You're coming back, Darren.
Thank you
Thank
guys.
you.
We appreciate it. Logan, if you want to come on over,
Thank you.
I'll have you on. Very cool. Just go have yourself a seat right there. This is Logan Tisdale, running for sheriff. We had his opponent on last week, so we thought we'd have him on to discuss some issues. Logan, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I just wanted to start and say thank you for inviting me here today. I appreciate it so much. You guys have meant a lot to the community and to me personally. I appreciate that. My name is Logan Tisdale. I'm a Republican candidate for sheriff from Monroe County 2020. The best thing to do to find out about me is go to my website. It's votetisdale.com. That's VOTETISDALE.com. That's one word.
Not a Z. I put a Z last night.
Oh, did it?
I think you did put a Z in there. No, it's
I changed it, though. I did change
It's
it.
TISDALE, votetisdale.com, and go to my website. I also am on Facebook, so if you want to know something about me, you can certainly follow me on Facebook. I try to post some things periodically. Before we get started, I just want to ask. I had a guy ask me a question on my Facebook, and he said, "Am I going to be a constitutional sheriff?" Now, I don't know exactly what he meant by that, but if it means that I'm going to support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Michigan, the answer to that is absolutely yes. Am I going to join an organization that promotes that? The answer is absolutely no. If you look on my website, there is no place to give any donations. There's no place to give any personal endorsements because I believe that the Sheriff's Department should be nonpartisan. I believe that if I get into this office, I'm fortunate enough to be elected, that I don't want to have any kind of attachments to anyone, either financially or socially. And that way, any decision I make is going to be based on a nonpartisan position. And I want the people to know that I'm going to go in there my own man, so to speak. So I think that that's something important that the voters should know about.
Well, Logan, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background? It's kind of unique. I know you started out in the military, but what possessed you to want to get, tell us a little bit about your military experience and then how you became a Michigan State Trooper.
Well, I went in the military in 1964. I was going to college in Iowa. My car broke down, and I decided that either I was going to get drafted or I was going to join. I decided I was going to join, and I went to Fort Dix for my basic and AIT, and I went to Benning for jump school. I ended up going to New York and getting assigned to go to Germany, and I was with the 8th Infantry Division. When I got over to Bremerhaven, they decided that they needed some people for the Berlin Brigade, and that was a kind of a prestigious organization because they were so close to East Germany and the wall, and this was only 4 or 5 years after the wall had been built. And this is only 20 years after the fall of Germany. Right. So they wanted soldiers in there that they knew were not going to defect and were going to present a good image. So I was fortunate enough to be a part of the Berlin Brigade. I was there for 28 months. I started off as just a straight-leg infantry guy. I got promoted to company clerk. I worked for a great guy who was a company commander who ended up getting killed in Vietnam in February of '68. His name was Edward W. Crum. And then I became the legal clerk for the battalion, which did summary and special court martials. I worked with JAG Corps very, very closely. And I was all untrained. This was all OJT, they don't train you for this stuff. And then when I came back to the States, I went back to college in Iowa. My car broke down in Elkhart, Indiana. They told
Sounds
me
like your
that.
car determines your career.
Well,
huh?
I had a '62 Corvette and stuff,
Whoa.
and the thing broke down. They threw me in Sturgis, Michigan, and I finished my semester. I went back there. I didn't have any money. I worked for the guy that was fixing my car. I worked at different jobs there, and I tried for the Sturgis Police Department, and I took the exam. They had like 5 open positions. I took number 1. I was so far ahead of everybody in the academic part that I thought I had a job. I got interviewed, and for some reason, I didn't get the job. And so there was a fireman there working for Sturgis Police Department who said, "Logan, why don't you try for the state police?" I said, "I can't even get in the Sturgis Police Department. The state police are not going to take me." Well, obviously they were hiring. And the people they were hiring were mostly people that had been in the military, because everybody else was either in college or in Vietnam. And so there was a very limited amount of people that were 21 years of age and older. And so I ended up interviewing for the state police. And in September '68, here I am in recruit school. And I got assigned. My first post was Bridgeport. I spent 2.5, almost 3 years at Bridgeport, working up in Saginaw County. Worked in a lot of great areas there. Had some great senior officers. Got transferred, which was mandatory back in those days. And I was single. I was living at the post. Now nobody lives at the post anymore. That's kind of, you can't get away from your work place when you're living at the state police post. But anyway, I was living at the post. I got transferred down to Niles, Michigan, which was right there, just north of South Bend, near Notre Dame. And a great area to work, right on the border. And so I stayed there for 10 years. I got promoted in 1982 to sergeant. I came to Erie Post, which was the old post there on the divide on Telegraph, not the one on 151. Right. I became a sergeant. I got tired of sitting at the desk and decided that there was a transfer to the Detective Bureau. Had an opportunity to go to the DB and worked there for 8 years. I had a great partner. And I finished my career in '91. I went back to college, got my degree. I got a bachelor's degree in Bible. I got ordained in 2000 as a pastor with Independent Assemblies of God International. I worked 5 years at Specialty Golf, which was right here.
Well, I can tell you this. Logan was a good salesperson over there, because that's where I first encountered Logan.
Well, that was kind of my passion. You know, I
Right.
enjoyed playing golf. And, you know, when you're a kid growing up in New York and stuff, you don't get to play a lot of sports. They don't have a lot of golf courses in Brooklyn. So I took up golf, and I found out I was pretty decent at it. You know, I'm still trying to struggle like everybody else. But
you're more than decent. You do not want to play against this guy. I call him smooth, because his swing is so smooth. Believe me, he you just don't want to play against him. You want him on your team. So,
well, then I went over to Legacy. I went there in '97.
I remember
when they opened up. I was able to get there because a friend of mine was a director of golf who'd worked at Special T. I worked there till for 3 years, and then I went to Bedford for a couple of years. And worked there from 2000 2001. That was kind of a nice experience there at Bedford. It's just down the road from where I live, and from then I've been just kind of enjoying retirement and getting involved in the township. The opportunity for sheriff was kind of something that just kind of Lord kind of brought it out of nowhere, and I thought to myself, here's the opportunity to serve the community again, which is exactly what I want to do.
what's making you want to run for sheriff? I mean, who would want to give up the golf course to go work full time?
Well, you know, the bottom line is I've had a servant's heart my whole life, and that doesn't change. And the thought of being the sheriff of Monroe County is, first of all, it's an honor to be the sheriff. I mean, that's one of the highest positions, elected officials in the county.
Right.
You know, I'm still.
What makes you think that?
Well, it may not be as high as a supervisor, but certainly, you know, I realize you have more pull than I do. But you know, as being a lowly law enforcement officer, I thought that
the sheriff's the highest.
well,
Well,
there's some
you
positions.
can't arrest us now, though, right? Because you're retired. You don't have any more police powers, right? So.
Well, I don't have I have no police power, but you know, I believe the sheriff does not even have to be a law enforcement officer. That's the only position he doesn't. Right. The undersheriff, however, absolutely has to be. But you know, I'm still a policeman at heart. That doesn't change. I still think that way. In fact, I called 911 the other day. There was a car stranded out on Smith Road and Jackman Road. I called 911. So I'm still involved in the community. I still love police officers. I still love being around them. I've been in contact with many of them around here. The township police departments are my friends, and so I'm just kind of hoping that I can make a difference as a sheriff.
Logan, I'm sure you probably pulled over thousands of cars and so on. Like, what's some of the craziest things that you ran into that might be like totally surprised you?
Well, I had a guy one time, I was on 75 there, I was working up in Bridgeport, and he crossed the median. And, of course, you know, it's against the law to cross the median. And so I stopped him, and I said to him, I said, sir, I said, the reason I'm stopping is because of the median. He says, you mean I crossed the Mediterranean? I said, no, the median. So he says, well, how do I get authorized? I says, wait a minute, I'll be right back. And I gave him the authorization to cross the median. It cost him $50, but that was his authorization for the day. I says, anytime you want to cross the median, it's going to cost you. So he decided that when he said Mediterranean, of course, that made me chuckle a little bit. But you know, it was really the 23 years I spent in the state police. It was one of the most enjoyable times of my career. I had a lot of down times because I had officers that were friends of mine that were shot and killed, and very close friends of mine. But you know, the overall experience was so incredible. I just saw a post the other day. A friend of mine put the patch of the Michigan State Police on his kind of like his website for Facebook, and that brings chills to me because I remember when I was living in Bronson, Michigan, getting ready to go to the state police. I would run around this area. It was just a farm place. It had a mile in each area. It was all dirt roads, and as I would run 12 miles a day. To get in shape for the state police and stuff. And I remember just visualizing, looking down on my shoulder and seeing that patch of the Michigan State Police, and that's what drove me to get in shape and get ready for that.
You know, we've got a lot of turmoil in the country.
Yes.
And there's a lot of different philosophies now on policing and so on. What's your thoughts on, if you were sheriff, are there things you would change? Are there things that you're seeing out there that police department should be adapting to? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, defunding the police department is the worst idea in the world. Police officers are, the ones I've met are some of the greatest people in the world. We have some problems. I would not put up with any misconduct on any officer, ever, regardless of what rank they are, whether they're in a jail, whether they're a road patrol, no matter what. Nobody's going to be able to do the things that happened in Minneapolis. I never saw that when I was a trooper. I learned how to restrain people. I learned how to use force just necessary to make an arrest. And those things have to be instilled within the officers today. They have to know what they can do and what they can't do. And certainly I'm in favor of that. And I treat people all the same. I don't feel I'm a prejudiced person. I wasn't raised that way. I believe all people are created equal in God's eyes, and we all have value. I remember one time I was working at the Toledo Christian School. They had a satellite over at the Calvary Christian Church there. They had a satellite K through 6. And I was doing Grandparents' Day because I was the oldest one there. And it was great doing Grandparents' Day because it smelled like Estee Lauder and men and Old Spice in the school. And I remember that all these grandparents were there and the kids were K through 6. And I asked this question. I said, how do you know you have value as a person? And this little kindergartner jumped up and I said, well, since you're the first one, I says, how do you know you have value as a person? She said, because Jesus died for me. Well, that's the only answer. We have value not because I put value on you, not because society puts value on you, not because some organization puts value on you, not because some Democratic or Republican Party does. You have value because Christ died for you. You weren't purchased with silver and gold. You were purchased with the blood of God himself. And so I see people through the blood of Christ. That's how I see that. And that's how I treat people. And that's how I expect the officers to treat them that way.
Amen.
Amen. I can attest to it. Logan treats people good. I mean, I've gotten to know him, and I really respect him. Plus, I like having him on my golf team, too. When we're going into scrambles.
He is a good golfer, dude.
Well, if that's an invitation, I say yes.
And he hits from the senior tees, too. And
I know. It's like he's sitting there. It's like, all right, we got Logan on our team.
Well, I hope that plays out there. I know I'm playing in a golf outing coming up next week and stuff. So I look forward to it. It's an opportunity, really, to minister to people. And I've been out on the golf course playing and talking to people out there. And I've been trying to get feedback on what they expect out of the sheriff. One of the things I believe there, I think the jail runs pretty well. I think the people there that are the control officers, the people that work in the jail, that's a difficult job. That's probably one of the worst jobs in the whole criminal justice system is working in a jail. You're dealing with people that you have no idea who they are, what their motivation is, and corrections officers are really, in my opinion, should be highly respected, and that's going to happen with me. the road patrol has to change a little bit. There has to be a lot more involvement with the road patrol, and I mean from traffic enforcement, because it's from traffic enforcement, this is where reducing the crime rate happens. You know, I stopped the car one time, when I was up in Bridgeport for a taillight out. Two black gentlemen in the car. I walked up to the car, I shined my light into the car. There were 3 guns in the car, all loaded. One of them was cocked. Plus they had drugs on them. I arrested them. And so from a simple traffic stop like that, here I got guys carrying guns, guys carrying drugs. Back in those days, when you were carrying cocaine or heroin, that was pretty different than what it is today. Now that's kind of common. But back in those days, I was almost really almost unseen. And that case actually went to court. It actually went to the Michigan Supreme Court. I actually had my book in one of the Michigan appellate courts there with my name on it. And so that went there because they contested whether or not my flashlight was an invasion of their privacy. And of course, the court held that it was not. And because of that search and seizure and stuff, it became precedent law that, you know, using your flashlight to search a car was not an invasion of somebody's Fourth Amendment rights. And so that was something that was a young trooper that I thought was important. Yeah, so traffic stops are important because that's what really fuels investigations. I mean, some of the biggest busts have been over just a simple traffic stop. And I'm not talking about setting up speed traps and all this other stuff. That's not what this is about. This is about the officers getting out there, being more visible, letting them stop cars, that people see that. That is a deterrent. When you see a patrol car with somebody pulled over, that kind of makes somebody think twice. And the whole idea is to save lives and to stop the number of traffic accidents in Monroe County. That's my goal is road patrol.
At almost every board meeting of ours for the last 3.5, almost 4 years. And that's just as my tenure as supervisor. So some of the things you kind of hit on every time you're there, you know, is traffic enforcement, is stopping cars. So I mean, he's beat that drum a lot. You know, I mean, he's. Do you think what do you think the biggest cause is? You know, for somebody to get pulled over in Bedford, are you seeing a lot of people speeding? Are you seeing a lot of
I've had people complain to me that there are people in the subdivisions that are not stopping at stop signs. We drive through our subdivision. You got cars parked on both sides. Sometimes it's very difficult to get a car between that. You got kids out there playing. Somebody darts out between a car. When you're going over the speed limit, your time to stop is greatly increased, and so that really makes a big difference. People that are pulling out from stop signs and stuff and they see a car coming, it's hard to judge the speed when you see them coming at you. So if they're doing 10 over the speed limit or 15 over the speed limit, you don't realize that they're approaching you at that rate. And if you get T-boned at an intersection, you know what the results of that is. And so my whole idea is to try to bring that down. And not to go out there and be a ticket master. That's not what it's about. This is about letting the people know that we're going to be out there enforcing the law, doing it respectfully, doing it with common sense. For every ticket I wrote, I know I gave probably at least 2 verbal warnings. And people do things, they don't do it intentionally. There are some people that do. There are some people that drive with impunity. They think they can drive any way they want. Those are the people we want to say, hey, no, you cannot.
Because don't you think, too, a lot of times if you pull somebody over, they get a warning, they're pretty grateful, and it kind of wakes them up a little bit.
It does.
Hey, I need to slow down, or I got to get off my phone,
and that's exactly, the problem is we got more people texting and driving, got more people being diverted from what they're doing. It doesn't take much to kind of lose your attention. All of a sudden something happens and you don't have the time to stop. We want to prevent people from dying in Monroe County. We want to cut down the number of accident rates. There were I think one year there was 1,000 people that lost their lives in the state of Michigan. Over 75,000 injuries. That's a lot of that's if you think of that from the human perspective, that's a lot of suffering, and we're trying to end that. We're not trying to make people feel that we're going to go out there and have. I hate speed traps. I hate even the thought of that, where it goes from 35 to 25, and they're right at the 20.
Woodville, and it's like
well,
go to 10
it's
miles
even
an
coming.
hour.
It's even coming down when you're coming down from Lewis Avenue there. You see the speed limit going 45, 35, 25. When you get to that 25-mile-an-hour zone, that tells you need to be doing 25. It doesn't mean right at that zone you're going to be, but you ought to be slowing down, and that's just common sense. And that's the whole idea of traffic enforcement. In Monroe County, I understand they have 2 traffic officers. They call them traffic services officers. The problem with that is there's only 2 guys for about 600 miles. They call the other officers hybrid officers, which I've never heard that terminology before. I don't know if that means they run on gas half the time and battery the other time, but the bottom line is there's no such thing as people that are just all they do is just answer complaints. If you're not answering a complaint, you're working traffic. That's the way it was trained when I was a state trooper, and that's the way it's going to be with the sheriff's department. If you're not taking a complaint, a 911 call or a call for service, you're going to be out there enforcing traffic laws. And I understand that we need to have a traffic services, and I'm not going to do away with that. But I'm going to also say that if you're in traffic services and we need you to respond to a call, you're going to respond to a call. And so to try to make that a little bit more comprehensive of everybody that's working, that you are working traffic if you're not working complaints. And in Monroe County, I mean, half these guys are working half the month. They're working not complaints. They're working on traffic, but they're not producing. I mean, you don't see the numbers there that they should be producing. You know, if you can go 80 hours on patrol and not write a single traffic ticket, I mean, that's not acceptable. I'm sorry. It's not acceptable by any police officer that's ever been trained properly. And I've been trained by the best. I work with the best. And I think my reputation with the Michigan State Police is going to carry over into if I'm the sheriff. I think the sheriff's department needs a new face. I think they need someone who has credibility. I believe that no one else can say this, that if I'm elected sheriff, I will have instantaneous credibility with every police agency in this country. And I'll tell you the reason why, and I say that with humility, is because I belong to an agency that is so well respected that they know that the people that have been brought into that agency are people of character and integrity. And I hope that that's what resonates with the people, is that they say, you know what, we want the sheriff to be, he should be above reproach. You see what I'm saying? If you can't trust the sheriff, who can you trust?
I can tell you this, whoever it is, the communication's got to be better.
It does.
Because our sheriff right now, I mean, there's no communication.
Well, I heard somebody on Facebook, they said that they tried to make an appointment with the sheriff, and they were told, and this is on Facebook, so this is like third-hand information, so I don't know, this is not gospel, this is what I heard, that the sheriff doesn't make appointments. Well, you know, I have to be available. If I'm going to be the sheriff, I'm going to be available. My job is not to be a micromanager. That's not a micromanager is somebody that's insecure. If you're a good manager, you appoint people that are qualified to do the job, and then you give them the authority to do the job. And then if there's a problem, then you step into it. But I'm gonna make sure that I have people in place that I'm going to do that.
Just to clarify that, I don't speak for the whole sheriff's department, because most of the people there are great to work with.
Absolutely.
You know, Moody and Paulie. I mean, I can go on and on. They've been excellent to work with.
Right.
And it's actually Sergeant Moody and Chief Deputy Paulie. They're great to work with. I mean, they always respond very professional.
Right.
You know, I'm speaking directly of the sheriff. So, but hey, we appreciate you being on. Is there anything you'd like to end the viewers with?
Well, like I said, I'm not collecting any money. I don't want that. I just want you to go on my website, votetisdale.com, and think about it. You know, as a Christian and stuff, I plan on bringing those kind of values to the job. I believe that I can't separate who I am from the job just to make people happy. I'm going to be nonpartisan when I'm elected. Obviously, I'm a Republican. And I have Republican values. I believe in pro-life. I believe in sanctity of marriage. I'm not going to change those things, but those are not going to affect me how I minister the job of sheriff. Everybody's going to be treated equal. That's the way I was trained when I was a state trooper. There was no politics involved. That really freed me up to do my job the way I was supposed to do. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to treat that like I was when I was a state trooper. I believe the deputies in there will enjoy working with me. I'm an easy guy to get along with. I'm a good listener. I'm ready to hear anything they have to say. I'm going to hope that they educate me on what their problems are, and I'm going to listen to that, and I'm going to try to be available to people. My doors are going to be open. You're going to see me down here in Bedford. I live here. Townships are going to see me. So I'm just hoping that people realize that I'm going to be the kind of person that they want to see. I may stop over somebody's house that's just had a complaint and ask them how they were treated. Because one of the things I was complaining about was that I don't want people texting somebody and telling them about it. I want them to stop by after they've had a complaint and go door to door. And I want those people to realize that there's going to be a one-to-one kind of contact. We've gotten so far away from that personal contact that that's not what makes people feel that they're appreciated and that they feel that they're important. And we need to make people feel that when they have a complaint that we are concerned about it, truly concerned about it, and not just they're just not a number. It's not a report we're taking. We're there to help them and to try to make their situation a lot better. And that's what my goal is to have more personal contact between deputies and people that have complaints, and to follow up on that and do it personally, not just over the phone or not just a text.
Well, thank you so much for being on.
I appreciate that so much. Yeah,
it's good to see
I'm a little worried about coming on because you're always kind of
Well, I
concerned
would
about
be
it.
with
But
Al and I.
but I know you
He asked
guys
me,
real
what
well.
does fully loaded mean?
I know.
I know.
It
You'll
just
find
sounded
out.
good.
It did. I was asked what fully loaded means. I said I don't know, but.
That would know.
Yeah, me either. I told him it
don't know
sounded
what it
good. Me either. It just sounded good when we were doing
Well,
it.
it does sound okay, and stuff, and I appreciate that. This is a great opportunity for me to get the message out, and I'm really blessed to know you guys.
Where are you
and
playing
stuff.
golf at today?
I played Giant Oaks.
You
Yeah,
lucky
we
dog.
played the tips, and I played really well. I shot 42, and so I'm pretty happy with that. And it's just,
Excellent.
it's good to meet people. I go out there and I talk to people
yeah.
about things, and
Maybe you should exchange phone
so
numbers
it's just
after
kind of
the show.
fun.
What?
Maybe you should exchange phone numbers after the show and talk about golf. We got,
I know.
We got
Logan and I
Savannah
can, we
sitting
can
over
talk
there.
about
We
golf
got to get
for
her on.
days.
Get your clubs after the show. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
I appreciate
Thank you,
that.
Logan.
Thank you much.
I'd shake
Thank
your
you.
hand,
Thanks
but we're not
again.
quite
Thank you
there
so
yet.
much. God bless everyone.
You too.
All
Hey,
right.
we need
Our
to.
next guest is Savannah Martin, so come on in here. Go ahead, Al.
Yeah, we got to
our-
thank a few of our sponsors,
Sponsors,
here. Barron
here we go.
Insurance, Lillian Cabinets, Indian Creek Zoo, Paul Pirrone for supervisor, Jacob Supply, Mulch King, Rich Kenny down over there at Forest View. Hey, everybody get out, start buying some food at these restaurants because they need the business. Be safe. I heard things are picking up on a few of the businesses, which is really good.
That's awesome.
So
Hey, while we got a lot of viewers watching here, I just want to. We are still working through the roundabout. Okay, we've been getting some questions. Actually, I think there's been a couple people saying, "Pirrone, where's the money for the roundabout?" Well, let me tell you this: it's still there. Okay, it's a federal grant. We're working through it. The quote of the project came back a lot higher than what we wanted it, so it went back to the drawing table and got it down to where we needed it to be. We're working through the details with the road commission, so it will definitely be hopefully a project that's bid out this year but worked on next year. So Savannah,
Hi.
how you doing?
Good.
Love the hair.
Thanks.
It's
It's different every time.
It is. I mean, every time I see her, her hair is definitely different. So
well,
My
mine
husband
stays-
says it's
stays
the-
silver and gray. So
You know what? I might
need
go
a
in that
cut. You need
direction
a-
soon.
you need a
I just,
trim.
I just had a cut.
Who's cutting it?
Huh?
True Cuts didn't do that.
Because they're closed.
Okay.
15th, they open up.
Yeah.
So,
Oh.
Yeah, they're gonna
Monday.
open up.
It's Monday, isn't it?
yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
I saw Faye just got his citizenship as
Yeah.
well.
Yes,
Congratulations,
congratulations.
Great
man.
group of guys over
Fado,
there.
Hado, right? Fado.
Yeah.
Fado.
Hado.
Yeah. So, you work for the pregnancy center of
I do.
Greater Toledo, right?
I do. Yep.
Is it really of Greater Toledo?
It is.
Is it really Greater Toledo? Or should it just be
Or is
Toledo?
Toledo great? I don't know.
I mean, both. So, one of the
Ask that question?
both. I was like, that's a new one. So, Greater Toledo is important to us because we actually serve from about a little south of Findlay all the way up to Monroe, Michigan. We serve individuals from Lenawee County. We serve individuals actually right over even the border in Indiana. So we have a pretty large footprint. So I would say Greater Toledo is probably an accurate statement.
Very cool. Well,
Yeah.
tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get involved in
Sure.
and working with the pregnancy center?
Yeah, so I have a background in nonprofit development and fundraising, in grant writing, and this issue is really near and dear to my heart. And so I knew that I wanted to work within the pro-life arena, and I was at a Foundation for Life in Greater Toledo, Right to Life, for about 4 years working in their development and fundraising and events. And quickly, I have so much appreciation for individuals that work within the political realm, but really quickly realized that was not where the majority of my passion was, that the kind of human
A lot of
services.
people find that out once they get to know
Yeah,
the political arena. They're like,
Oh yeah, it's a hotbed.
Yeah, I worked through the second Obama election, and I mean, it definitely takes a lot of energy and time. I mean, you guys know that campaigning is a full-time job in and of itself. And then to walk out of any election, on either side, and having put all of that energy into it and not seeing the results that you desired. I also have found that in a role at the pregnancy center, because unfortunately the pro-life issue has been made to be so politicized and so controversial that there's actually a lot of work in it that is bipartisan. And I found that if I could work on the kind of human services side or the social services side of it, that we could actually have much more collaboration. Whereas in the, when we take it into a political conversation, it can become very divisive. And so I came to the Pregnancy Center in 2012. So I've been with the Pregnancy Center since 2012, serving first as the development director, doing all of the fundraising and outreach to the community. And then in 2015 became the executive director. So it's home for me. I don't anticipate going anywhere anytime soon. We've grown the organization significantly over the past 5 years. Was one single location when I came, and now we're 3 kind of separate ministries with 2 brick and mortar locations. So that's how I got there.
So are you from Toledo? Or?
I am not originally from Toledo. I am originally from Lima. I'm originally from Shawnee, but usually that doesn't garner any sort of...
A few times.
Did you?
Really?
Yeah, I drove
The
through
plant?
The plant.
The only
thing
reason
you know
that
about
people
Lima is
ever
the
come
plant.
to
The GM plant.
Lima is either for Cupid or for the
Just
plant.
an odd
So
town.
it is definitely an interesting community, one that I love. So originally from Lima, I came to Toledo to attend the University of Toledo, and met my husband. Yay, go Rockets, UT. And met my husband and have been here ever since. And again, the Toledo area, greater Toledo area is something that's really important to Ryan, who is my husband and I. Ryan actually works up here in Michigan. And so just kind of this region, Northwest Ohio and Southeast Michigan, have such a near and dear place to Ryan. We actually solidified the deal earlier this month and bought a Jeep. So for us, we're Toledo through and through and through.
Got it.
And then I'll bet you the hair's just flowing in the wind.
It's, at least I have an excuse for...
You see Ryan's hair? It's time for him to shave it. I'm going to publicly say that.
He's
Ryan.
waiting for Drew Cuts to open.
No, I know everybody does. Everybody's waiting for those guys to come back. And
Sorry, Ryan. I don't mean to
He's not up yet.
embarrass you.
but they. Well, what type of services?
We had a lot of fun with his hair.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So what type of services do you offer when somebody comes in? Explain the experience for somebody coming into your center.
Sure. So we actually have 3 kind of organizations or ministries that exist under kind of the umbrella of the Pregnancy Center. We are faith-based. I would go even as far as to say, I think faith-based means a lot of things to a lot of different people. Really what we identify is as Christ-centered. And so we have the Pregnancy Center, which is our limited medical clinic that's actually been in the Toledo area for 35 years. Beautiful founding story. So we have the passage of Roe versus Wade in 73, and there were so many people, especially in the both evangelical and Catholic community, that were really wrestling with that decision. And here locally, a woman by the name of Debbie Schaller was just so moved by wanting to provide help in our community. And so she actually took out a separate phone line and had it in her sewing room. And she would take out advertising, whether it was in the newspaper or through, radio stations, and she would take calls of young women who were finding out that they were pregnant and providing support and resources to them. And I always love to tell that story as kind of the start of our center, because I think sometimes when we look at, such a thriving organization in our community, it can be easy to think, oh, I don't have what it takes to be a part of that, or I don't have enough money to give, or enough prayers to pray, or enough hours to serve. And Debbie's obedience is such a beautiful testimony that we don't have to have all the money in the world. We don't have to have, all of these other resources that we just have to take what we have and be obedient and generous to serve our community in that way. So at around the time that Debbie did that, there was also this move of this idea of pregnancy centers. And the whole idea was focus on the family that kind of started this movement. And they said you need to have $5,000 in the bank. So this was 1980s. You need to have $5,000 in the bank. You cannot open outside of that. Debbie and our founding board had an interaction with a young woman who had called the hotline, and said, I did not realize that there was a support system for me. And she actually had gone through with an abortion decision. And they met that next day, and they had $500 in the bank, and they decided that they were going to proverbially open the doors of the pregnancy center. And so it's just been this very beautiful faith journey of, we know that God's going to bless what we do, and as we're obedient to him. So at the Pregnancy Center, it's a limited 501c3 charitable organization. So all of our services are free to the community. So we're serving primarily women who are just finding out that they're pregnant, and our hearts primarily as a pro-life organization is, while abortion is legal and is a legal option for individuals in our community, there was a survey that came out in 2015 that said 52% of women who had abortion in 2013 and 2014 did so because they did not believe that they had another option. So to me, that's alarming. You know, we hear this huge conversation about the issue of choice. I mean, the reality is that 50% of our country is walking through an abortion experience, regardless of how we feel about it on a conviction level. Half of the abortions that were taking place in our country are taking place because people actually don't feel like they have a choice. They actually don't see any other viable option. And so the Pregnancy Center exists to really walk with women to help them understand that you actually do have another viable option.
Well, don't you see too? I mean, it's very traumatic for girls and women to go through this. I mean, we have all the birth control in the world, okay? But let's be realistic. It always doesn't work. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden they find themselves, hey, I'm pregnant, or I'm a teenager, or whatever. It's a pretty difficult situation.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, and sometimes, you know, the boyfriend leaves or the husband leaves or whatever. And it's pretty daunting to be a single mother, you know, and especially if you don't have a support system or a family around
Absolutely.
you to help you.
And it didn't work in your family because you were born.
Well, my mom took me back, so she tried.
Yeah.
Thankfully, it didn't, Al.
I know.
We love having you here.
Yeah, I know. Me too. So it
Absolutely.
It works out. I love my mama.
So vastly important. And you really hit the nail on the head that,
Right.
you know, having children, I know, you know, Paul has children. I don't know if you have kids.
Oh, I got 2 daughters.
He
Yeah.
has kids, but now he has grandkids he raises.
Well, grandkids is a different
Yeah,
story.
I
The
love
Bible says that grandkids are the heritage. So
Oh, they are.
they're wonderful, and you can send them back to their parents when you're done.
Al doesn't.
No, I've
He's not done yet.
Kids since I was 25 years old.
It is the gift back to parents. Grandchildren are gifts back to grandparents after they have had to raise their children.
Well, I got 4 grandsons, and I've got all the bruises and everything to show for it, because you just never know when they're coming around the corner and whack, you know what I mean? Or one's jumping off.
Especially when they're 4 or 5 years old at that height.
Oh, I know.
I mean, I've been dropped
I
a few times. I mean, dropped.
Yeah.
They're little
my
spider
son, he
monkeys
can
for
hit
sure.
hard.
Oh, yeah.
And
You know, but it's a shock. I mean, you know, and you can be a family. You know, everybody's doing right. Everybody wants their child, hey, going to go to school, hey, going to graduate, go to college, get a job or whatever. Then all of a sudden you find out, hey, your daughter's pregnant at 17. Mm-hmm. So
Yeah.
what do you do? I mean,
Yeah.
it's emotional.
Absolutely. Well, and really
You need those support.
the reality is that as females, when we break down the conversation about choice, what actually is being told to our young women is that we can't do both.
Right.
That's really what we're saying. We're saying you can't pursue your education and be a mom. You can't pursue, you know, your dreams and be a mom. And while I'm not, you know, I'm never going to be someone that sugarcoats the reality. parenting is a difficult job when there are two people in the home and you have solid income. And so you're absolutely right. I mean, when you take a parent out of the home and the lack of the support system and barriers to, being able to succeed in life, that it becomes a very near impossible situation. But again, as females, what we're being told is that you don't have it in you to do both, that you can't. And we're actually being told to choose. We're being told to choose between our careers, our education, the places that we want to go, our futures, and being mothers. And, Mother Teresa said, that's one of the greatest atrocities that we have done as a society, is to tell women that they can't do both. And the reality is that I see every day, I can't tell you how many graduations I go to every single year of women who are completing their either high school or college education while either being pregnant or mothering. And it's a beautiful thing, but it takes community to rally around them. And so for us at the Pregnancy Center, at the end of the day, you touched on it, we call it our third chair concept, that, we have an obligation as a community to step in and to be that support system for these individuals. And essentially what we're saying is that we can cut our abortion numbers in half. Again, for me, I understand that people feel deeply one way or the other about this issue, but what I hear across the board in almost every situation is that people do want to reduce the abortion numbers. You hear that across the board. And essentially, we can cut those numbers in half just by providing tangible resources and care to individuals. And so we do case management at the center. Our first appointment is really assessing where she is at in every area of her life. We do provide limited medical resources, so we're providing ultrasounds. And the individuals that we're serving do have a lot of barriers to care. And so Lucas County is actually one of the top counties for infant mortality and low birth weight in the United States. Monroe County is actually in the top 50. So when we break these numbers down into county numbers, we see that our region, not only from a inside of the womb perspective, but even these children, right after they're born, aren't making it to their first birthday. And so as someone who's pro-life, I want to be just as passionate in understanding that life that's in the womb is sacred and deserves, the opportunity. And that same opportunity should be afforded to that life before their first birthday. And so a lot of our programming, also is not just equipping her to see that she has other choices, but also building a bridge for her to, as someone who holds the Bible as the foundation of their life, it says that the enemy comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And that, Jesus says that he came that he would bring life, but he doesn't put a period there. He actually inserts a comma, and he says, I actually came that you would have that abundantly. And so for us, it's not just enough to have that conversation and that woman realize that she can make a life-affirming decision. We actually want to set her and that child and that family up for abundant life as well.
Do you try and also educate the fathers, because a lot of them need to step up and so do you help me? Because there's a lot of guys, they've never been a father before. They don't know what to do.
And they haven't been fathered. I mean, that's the key
Right.
too, is that, you want to talk about epidemics and pandemics globally. Fatherless homes is actually one of the most destructive things that's happening within the United States and even globally right now. And the reality that we see is that absolutely is it vitally important for that father to be involved, but what we see is that they actually aren't fathered themselves. And so not only, it's just continuing this cycle of these young men growing up in homes where that isn't available. And so we have a partner organization in Toledo that's called Brothers United. So the Pregnancy Center has a core value that if there is already a service in our community that exists, that we actually have no right to duplicate that service. And so because there's this program called Brothers United that already exists, it would be a poor use of the region's charitable giving for us to build a program that's already running well in our community. Yep. So it's a little bit more concrete than a referral system. We see that the most vulnerable individuals that we serve, if we were just kind of call this number, go here, do this, we're actually not handing people a life jacket. We're handing them a cinder block while they're drowning. And so for what may look like normal referral systems for other agencies, we actually have strategic partnerships with the agencies that we work with. And so it really provides a seamless path between the pregnancy center and this organization. And so Brothers United really does care for most of the fathers that we see.
Well, that brings me to a question. I'm going to try to say it fast before Al gets another question. I can't hardly get a word in with this guy. Gosh, dang.
Okay, ask your question.
So what's something our viewers could do? Because you're right.
Yeah.
People are passionate one way or the other. What's something our passionate people could do to support you or get involved?
Yeah, that's a great question. And we do see that, especially in, election years, we see presidential election years, we see that this issue continues to kind of come to the forefront. And so what I would recommend, and there are other organizations that are similar to our pregnancy center. There's a Heartbeat in Monroe County. There is a pregnancy center in Lenawee County. Obviously our center in Toledo, is to find one that's near to you and to first, my recommendation would be to schedule a time to come in and tour one of those facilities. I think we also have to understand there's a really, really great book called When Helping Hurts. And so I think the responsible thing for us, and whether it's the pregnancy center or, I saw that you guys were talking about food giveaways, it's easy to kind of in zeal jump in and be like, I want to help. But the reality is until you really understand the problem. And so I think the first thing is just going to, the pregnancy center. We love to bring people through our building and really just learning at an in-depth level about what we're doing. We are a charitable organization. We take zero government funding. It's vastly important to us that we stay rooted and local. So no government funded, all funding, all privately funded. So we rely on the generosity of our community. We're always looking for volunteers. We're especially looking for medical volunteers at our center right now. So they can find out more information and our contact information on friendsofpregnancycenter.org.
Well, very cool. Is there anything you'd like to kind of end everybody with?
Man, I just think this is really the time to roll our sleeves up and get engaged. We're in a difficult time in our country right now. And, I just shared this on my personal social media yesterday that I think it's easy in this time to want to hide or run. First and foremost, again, as things come to a head, my biggest plea is that we remember that the people in front of us are image bearers, that they are created in the image of God. And before being right, before having an opinion, we should be able to honor the people that are in front of us. And I think that we would see ourselves in a much better place if we can just be, kind and compassionate and see the value and worth in people that may not look like us, they may not vote like us, they may not worship where we worship, they may live in different neighborhoods. That, to me, that is one of the biggest changes that we could make in our country right now, is just seeing the people in front of us as the image bearers of Christ that they are.
For sure. Good. Well, very cool. Well, thanks for coming
on. It was
Thank
very
you.
informative.
Good to get to know you a little bit more, and our viewers. Anybody wants to get a hold of you, just contact the pregnancy center.
The best way is friendsofpregnancycenter.org. We're on all social media platforms. That our website. I would be happy to chat with people if they're watching and they have a question. I'll jump in the comment sections and answer any questions that people have. So it's just a joy to be able to serve in our region.
Very cool. Well,
Yeah.
Thanks for being on. So, Al,
Yeah.
how's the campaign going?
Campaign's going great. We're cranking it up. Got a lot of good things going on.
Yeah,
Getting
good.
a lot of good support. Looking forward to it.
Very cool.
And I think in terms of what was just said about people and hate and so on, it's just like on Facebook. People get on.
It's been a rough week, man.
Oh, it's been a rough week. But the thing is, what people need to understand is that Facebook is a publicly held company. And they can make rules, like when you want to block people, or when Facebook says, hey, we don't want you to post that. It's not the same as a newspaper.
Yeah.
And even newspapers under the First Amendment, they don't publish every article. They don't do everything. So I think if we can get on Facebook, because there are so many people worldwide, And we can just spread that message, like, quit hating on each other, whether you're a Republican, Democrat, independent, whatever. It's like, have constructive discussions. Okay.
Well, and that's when posts get deleted.
Yeah, exactly.
Because our page, Bedford Township Community News and Events, is not a government page.
Right.
It's a page that we try our best to run.
Right.
But it is a positive for a good story.
Right,
Some
exactly.
good information.
Or to get-
news.
Yeah.
You know, and there's some things that are tough that we have to delete it sometimes. But you know, there's four or five admins we have that kind of monitor it. We are looking for some moderators.
Right.
If some moderators would like to help us with the page to kind of get some more opinions out there of what should stay or what should go. But
Yeah, because
it is a ton of work.
Well, it
To
is.
be
And
quite
when you-
honest with you, I don't have time
Me
to,
either.
to watch it.
And when you have that many people and so on, and hey, there's people that, you know, they love Trump. There's people who are going to love Biden and Governor Whitmer and all these other things. But when we started that page, or when Michelle did, it was to be positive, like what you're saying, Paul. It was like, hey, you know, there's a post. Somebody needs a job. I mean, like,
Yeah,
like for example, they're raising money on our site to get a guy's truck fixed who is very valuable to this community, who picks up our scrap. Okay? Those are the positive things we're really trying to push. Or if somebody has a problem, it's like, hey, how do we solve it?
Yeah.
Or if it is an event, you know, hey, if you're going to have an event and it's a protest, you know what? That isn't a community event. As long as it's peaceful, okay, go ahead and post it. You know what I mean? But the hate that we see, it's just we're that page isn't going to be that way. And you know, because there's a lot of things that we can be positive about on that page. And there's plenty of political pages out there, folks. If you want and rant and rave and espouse your hate or whatever, there's plenty of them out there. Go do it. But I will always say this, Paul, is when people want change or they're protesting, because this country was founded on protest. We've had a lot of changes in this country because of protesting took place. But remember, when the protest is over, ask yourself, what have you done to help somebody? That's where the real change comes. When you go out and you put yourself out there and say, hey, I'm there to help.
For sure. Well, why don't we thank our sponsors one last time, and we'll go ahead and end the show here.
Alrighty. Well,
Thank you. Everybody have a blessed week.
Alrighty. Well, let's give some thanks out to Barron's Insurance, Lillian Cabinets, Indian Creek Zoo, Paul Pirrone Supervisor, Jacob Supply, Mulch King, Forest View. Everybody have a great weekend. Be safe out there. Enjoy the weather.